Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we will go through the key concepts of trigonometry chapter, and we'll also see what kind of questions come in the examination. Okay, shall we start? First, let's look at trigonometric ratios. Okay, the trigonometric ratios, as you know, are defined for a right angle triangle. So we have a right angle triangle ABC here. So as you can see, there's a right angle triangle ABC. It is right angled at C. And we are going to define the trigonometric ratios for this angle A, which is been written as theta here. So the angle A, which has been written as theta, we are going to define the trigonometric ratios for that. For defining trigonometric ratios, we will name the sides of the right angle triangle as a side opposite to the angle, because this is opposite to theta, so it is called opposite side. The side that is next to it, which is not a hypotenuse, which is adjacent side. The side which is opposite the right angle, and that will be called hypotenuse. So in this case, we have opposite side in green color, adjacent side in blue color, and hypotenuse in the red color. These three sides are used in defining ratios. Now we have three important ratios, sine, cos, and tan theta. They are all defined as a ratio of two sides. Let us see which sides they are. First, let's look at sine theta. Now, sine theta is defined as the opposite side by hypotenuse. The side which is green in this case divided by hypotenuse, which is in the red. Cos theta is defined as adjacent side, which is blue in this case, divided by hypotenuse. So it is adjacent side divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is red and adjacent is blue in this case. Tan theta does not have hypotenuse in the definition. Tan theta is defined as a ratio of opposite side, which is green in this case, divided by adjacent side, which is blue in this case. So these are the three important ratios. They are the fundamental ratios. Let us see a common method that is used to remember the ratios sine, cos, and tan. So it is called SOH-CAH-TOA. It's quite a common method to remember that sine is opposite divided by hypotenuse, cos is adjacent side divided by hypotenuse, and tan is opposite divided by adjacent. It is made up of the first letters, sine opposite by hypotenuse, cos adjacent by hypotenuse, tan opposite by adjacent. There are many other ways of remembering this thing. This is one of the ways. If you find this useful, you can use this method. The other three ratios are cot theta, secant theta, and cosecant theta. Now, the cot theta is defined as adjacent divided by opposite. It is inverse or reciprocal of tangent. So it is 1 by tan theta, if you see. So tan theta happens to be opposite by adjacent. Cot theta is adjacent by opposite. So secant theta is defined as hypotenuse divided by adjacent side. Hypotenuse is red in this case, divided by adjacent side, which is blue in this case. Cosecant theta is defined as hypotenuse by opposite side, hypotenuse again red and opposite side in green. Now, you can either remember these, or it is easier to remember the relationship of these ratios with sine, cos, and tan. Let us see what those are. Now, the tan theta is defined as sine theta divided by cos theta. Cot theta is defined as cos by sine theta. In other words, cot theta can also be written as 1 divided by tan theta. These relationships are quite useful in solving many identity related problems. There will be many problems which ask prove this, prove that, and even there are 1 mark, 2 mark questions which need these relationships. So these are quite useful. Let's look at the other relationship. So what is the relationship between secant and sine and cos? So secant theta is defined as 1 divided by cos theta. Cosecant theta is defined by 1 divided by sine theta. one way of remembering is the first letters are not the same. So for secant theta, it's not sine theta, but it is 1 by cos theta. For cosecant theta, it is not 1 by cos theta, it is 1 by sine theta. So the first letters are not the same. This is one way of remembering this. All right, let's proceed. So now let's look at the complementary angles. We looked at the basic trigonometric ratios and the relationship between them and a mnemonic that you can use to remember them. Now let's look at the complementary angles. So what are complementary angles? The complementary angles are angles which when you add, you get 90 degree. So it's an angle which you add, you get 90 degree. So in this case, what are we looking at? So if you do sine of 90 degree minus theta, it is equal to cos theta. So sine 90 degree minus theta is equal to cos theta. Similarly, cos 90 degree minus theta is equal to sine theta. So sine becomes cos, cos becomes sine. So this is one way to remember it. Similarly, tan 90 minus theta is cot theta. Cot 90 minus theta is tan theta. Secant 90 minus theta is cosecant theta. And cosecant 90 minus theta is secant theta. So tan becomes cot, cot becomes tan, secant becomes cosecant, and cosecant becomes secant. Right, now let's look at key values. What are the key angles? There are 5 angles which are called key angles. They are 0 degree, 30 degree, 45 degree, 60 degree, and 90 degree. These are called key angles. And we have to remember or find a way to determine the trigonometric ratios for these angles. So in this table, I have given for sine, cos, and tan. You can obviously find out the cot, cosecant, and secant using sine, cos, and tan. Now, even in this table, I will show you a method to remember the key angle values for 30, 45, and 60 instead of remembering this table. But first, let's look at 0 and 90 degree, which are special angles. So 0 degree is a special angle where sine A is 0, cos A is 1. Okay. For 0 degree, sine A is 0 and cos A equals 1. For 90 degree, it's the other way around. Sine is 1 and cos is 0. Okay, sine is 1 and cos is 0. Now, because tan is defined as sine by cos, for 90 degree, it becomes 1 divided by 0, and anything divided by 0 is not defined. That is why we write it as undefined. All right, so this is for 0 degree and 90 degree. If you're not clear about 0 degree and 90 degree, there is a separate video in this channel. Take a look at it and you will be able to appreciate why sine 0 is 0 degree and why sine 90 is 1. Now let us see a way to remember 30, 45 and 60 degrees key angle values easily. I'm showing you 2 triangles here. The first triangle, I'm calling it 45, 45, 90 degree triangle because one of the angles is 90 degree and the other 2 angles are 45 degrees. So it's a 45, 45, 90 degree. There's another triangle that I'm showing you where the angles are 30, 60, and 90 degree. Okay. Now let's look at the numbers that are there in red. So these numbers are, if there was a triangle 45, 45, 90, and one of the sides, which is not a hypotenuse, was 1, let's call it 1 centimeter, for example, then the hypotenuse is going to be root 2. This you can easily prove using Pythagoras theorem. I suggest you remember this triangle that for a 45 degree, 90 degree triangle, if the sides are 1, hypotenuse is root 2. Now, if you remember this, then finding sine 45, cos 45, tan 45 becomes easy. Let's look at sine 45. What is sine 45? Sine 45 is opposite side, which is 1, divided by hypotenuse, which is root 2. So sine 45 will be 1 by root 2. So sine 45 will be 1 by root 2. Similarly, cos 45 will be adjacent by hypotenuse, which will be 1 divided by root 2. So as you can see, cos also is 1 divided by root 2. For tan, it will be 45 degree will be opposite side by adjacent side. So it will be 1 by 1, hence it is 1. So you can easily find the values for sin 45, cos 45 and tan 45 if you remember this triangle, the 1, 1, root 2 triangle. Now let's look at the other triangle, which is what we call 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. So in the case of this triangle, the side that is opposite to 30 degree, we will set it to 1, and you can prove that the side that is opposite to 60 degree is root 2 and the hypotenuse is 2. Okay. In this video, we will not looking at the proof, but you can, if you remember that side opposite 30 degree, if it is 1 and the other side is root 3, the hypotenuse will be 2. Now using this triangle, you can easily find sin 30, cos 60 and other ratios. So for example, sin 30 degree is opposite side, which is 1 divided by 2, right? So that is half. That is sin 30. And the cos 30 is adjacent side, which is root 3 divided by 2. So if you look at the previous table, sin 30 is a half and cos is root 3 by 2. Similarly, you can see that the sin 60 is root 3 divided by 2. And cos 60 is 1 divided by 2. And tan 60 will be opposite side, which is root 3 divided by adjacent side. So tan 60 will be root 3. So you can see in the previous table that sin A is root 3 by 2, cos is 1 by 2, and tan A is root 3. As we talked earlier, you can find the values of cot, secant and cosecant by using sine, cos and tan value. So to summarize, if you remember these two triangles where the sides are 1, 1 root 2 for a 45 degree and 1 root 3 and 2 for 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, you don't have to remember the table. You can easily find the ratio by using this triangle. Now let's go further and see what else is there in this chapter. The next important thing is identities. So we are looking at certain identities in this case. Let us look at those identities. The first identity we look at is sine square theta plus cos square theta equals 1. This is the most famous common identity. Sine square theta cos square theta equals 1. The other two identities involve tan and secant, cot and cosecant. It says tan square theta plus 1 is secant square theta, cot square theta plus 1 is cosecant square theta. Now you can see that you can actually get the second identity, the tan square theta plus 1, by dividing the first one by cos square theta. Similarly, you can get the third identity by dividing the first identity by sine square theta. So in other words, if you remember the first identity, you can find the other two. So to summarize, the identities are sine square theta plus cos square theta equals 1, tan square theta plus 1 equals secant square theta, cot square theta plus 1 equals cosecant square theta. You can derive the second and the third from the first. Now let's look at the questions that come in the examination. From the trigonometry chapter, in the examination, you get 1 mark, 2 mark and 3 mark questions. We will look at all 3 different type of questions and let us see how to solve them. First, let's look at 1 mark question. So there are 3 kinds of 1 mark questions that you see in the examination. Let's look at each of them. The first kind of 1 mark question is you are given a ratio, you are given one ratio and you are asked to find another. So you are given one ratio and you are asked to find another ratio. Let's look at an example. These questions are from the previous examination papers and the model question paper. So the first question says, if 15 cot A equals 8, then find the value of tan A. As we discussed earlier, cot A can be written as 1 by tan A, or tan A can be written as 1 by cot A. Since they've given a weight for you to find cot A, you can easily find the value of tan A. The second question says, if cos theta is 24 by 25, find the value of secant theta. Again, using the relationship between secant and cos, you can find the answer here. The third one is, if 13 secant theta equals 12, then the value of cosecant theta is. Again, using the relationship between cosecant and sine, you can find the value of cosecant theta. So this is one kind of 1 mark question. It's a very, very common question that you see in the examination. The second kind of 1 mark question involves complementary angles. Let us look at the typical question. Sine 90 degree minus theta is equal to, as we saw earlier, this will be equal to cos theta. The next question is find the value of tan theta minus cot 90 minus theta. So in this case, we are not given just one, we're just given an expression, and you're supposed to simplify this expression and find the answer. So the cot 90 minus theta, as we saw earlier, is tan theta. So this becomes tan minus tan, hence 0. The third one is an interesting one. It says, what is cos 48 minus sine 42? If you pay attention, 48 degree plus 42 degree is 90 degree. In other words, these are complementary angles, and you can use complementary angle to prove that cos 48 is sine 42, hence this is also 0. Complementary angles are quite common, and you get at least 1 or 2 questions in the examination, almost in every examination. Let's look at the third kind of 1 mark question that you see. The third kind of 1 mark question involves the value for key angles. And here it's more or less direct questions like what is the value of tan 45, or what is the value of sine 60 multiplied by cos 30, or what is the value of tan 45 plus cot 45. These are quite direct, and you generally get asked for the values. Either you can derive the values using the triangles that I showed earlier, or if you remember the answers, you can directly write the answers. So these are the 3 kind of 1 mark questions that are asked in the examination. Now let's look at the 2 and 3 mark questions. There are more 3 mark questions and 2 mark questions, but they are very, very similar in nature. They're quite similar in what they look like. So the 3 mark and 2 mark questions, they are using identity proving questions. So let's look at this question, for example. It says prove that cos theta minus 2 cos cube theta divided by 2 sine cube theta minus sine theta equals cot theta. So you are given an LHS and you are given an RHS. You are supposed to prove that left hand side equals right hand side. Similarly, you have 2 other questions, and again you have left hand side and right hand side, and you are supposed to prove that left hand side equals to right hand side. Now these can be solved in many different ways. There are many videos in this channel that go through various examples. I suggest you take a look at them and you practice how to solve these problems. Most of the problems use one identity or the other. It also uses complementary angles in some case. It uses a lot of trigonometric ratio relationship. For example, in many of the questions, we replace cot theta, for example, as cos by sine, and so on. So all the things that we learned earlier in this video, all of them will be used in solving the 3 mark question. Thanks for watching this video. It was a long video. I hope it was useful. We summarized the key concepts of trigonometry and how these concepts and identities and complementary angle and key values, all of them are asked in the examination in 1, 2, 3 mark question. Hopefully you found this video useful. We will soon see you with a new video. Till then, bye. Thanks.